How Napoleon lost an empire and changed the world forever. History is often told as a story of conquest, of armies marching forward, of empires growing larger, stronger, richer. But the truth is darker. History is shaped just as often by fear, by failure, and by decisions made in desperation. In the year 1803, one man controlled a land so vast that even maps struggled to contain it. A land of rivers longer than kingdoms, forests untouched by time, plains without end, half a continent. That man was Napoleon Bonaparte. And in a single moment, without a battle, without a siege, without firing a shot, he let it go. Not as a gift, not as an act of kindness, but as a calculated surrender that would reshape the future of the world. This is the story of the Louisiana sale. At the dawn of the 19th century, Europe was not at peace. It was bleeding. Revolutions had shattered thrones. Kings had fallen. Old empires trembled. And from the chaos rose a man who believed himself destined to command history itself. Napoleon Bonaparte, a soldier born on a small island, now crowned Emperor of France. He had defeated Austria, humiliated Prussia, terrified monarchs across Europe. But one enemy remained beyond his reach: Great Britain, an island nation protected by the sea, armed with the strongest navy the world had ever known. France ruled the land, Britain ruled the oceans, and Napoleon knew one truth above all others: an empire without global reach is an empire already dying. France had once ruled North America. From Canada to the Mississippi, French flags had flown over rivers, forts, and trading posts. But in 1763, France lost everything. The 7 Years' War ended in disaster. Britain took Canada. Spain took Louisiana. France was humiliated, stripped of its future. Napoleon never forgot this. To him, North America was not lost. It was unfinished business. When he came to power, he dreamed not only of dominating Europe, but of rebuilding a global French empire. And at the center of that dream stood one massive territory: Louisiana. Louisiana was not just land. It was power. Stretching from the Mississippi River to the Rocky Mountains, from the Gulf of Mexico to the frozen North, it controlled trade, food, movement. Whoever owned Louisiana controlled the heart of North America. In 1800, Napoleon quietly reclaimed it from Spain in a secret treaty. No celebrations, no announcements, because Napoleon knew, if Britain found out too soon, they would act. To Napoleon, Louisiana was not meant for settlers. It was meant as a supply empire, and its true purpose lay thousands of miles away. Saint-Domingue, modern-day Haiti. At the time, it was the richest colony on earth. Sugar, coffee, indigo. It produced more wealth than all British Caribbean colonies combined. Napoleon's plan was simple. Saint-Domingue would generate money, Louisiana would supply food and manpower. Together, they would rebuild French power in the New World. But history had other plans. In 1791, the enslaved people of Saint-Domingue rose up, not in protest, in revolution. What began as rebellion became something unprecedented. Former slaves defeated European armies. Black generals outmaneuvered trained officers. France sent tens of thousands of soldiers. They did not fall to bullets. They fell to yellow fever, to heat, to disease, to an enemy that could not be conquered. By 1802, over 40,000 French soldiers were dead. Napoleon's greatest overseas army had been erased. Saint-Domingue was lost. And with it, Napoleon's entire American dream began to collapse. Because without Haiti, Louisiana had no purpose. And worse, it had become a liability. Napoleon now faced a terrifying reality: a massive territory, no army to defend it, no navy to protect it. When the smoke cleared in the Caribbean, Napoleon stood alone with a terrible truth. Louisiana was enormous. But size can be weakness. From Paris, it looked powerful. On maps, it looked invincible. But in reality, it was empty, wild, unprotected. There were no fortresses, no armies, no supply lines, only rivers, forests, and distance. Napoleon understood warfare better than any man alive, and he understood this. An empire you cannot defend is not an empire. It is bait. Across the sea, Britain was watching. Britain had crushed French ambitions before, and it was waiting to do it again. The Royal Navy ruled the oceans. French ships rarely left port. French colonies were isolated. If war erupted again, and war was inevitable, Britain could seize Louisiana with almost no resistance. Napoleon imagined it clearly. British flags rising over New Orleans, British control of the Mississippi, British dominance of North America. That could never be allowed. If Louisiana fell into British hands, France would not just lose land, it would lose the future. In Europe, peace was fragile. Treaties were signed with hesitation. Trust was non-existent. Napoleon knew war with Britain was not a question of if, but when. And when war came, France would need every soldier, every coin, every cannon. Louisiana offered none of these. It drained resources. It demanded protection. It invited disaster. Napoleon began to see Louisiana, not as a prize, but as a trap. Selling Louisiana was not part of the plan, not even close. Empires did not sell land. They conquered it. They defended it. They died for it. But Napoleon was not like other rulers. He was ruthless with tradition. If land weakened France, it had to go. If keeping Louisiana meant strengthening Britain, it had to disappear, slowly, quietly. An unthinkable idea formed in Napoleon's mind. What if France walked away before Britain could strike? Across the Atlantic, the United States was young, fragile, uncertain, barely a generation old. Its leaders feared empires, feared entanglements, feared war. President Thomas Jefferson had one obsession. New Orleans, the Mississippi River, was America's lifeline. Without access to it, the nation could be strangled economically. Jefferson feared France almost as much as Britain. A powerful French empire in Louisiana was a nightmare. But America was weak. It had no navy, little money, and no desire for war. Jefferson sent diplomats with one goal: buy New Orleans, nothing more. The American envoys arrived in Paris. They expected resistance, negotiations, delays. Instead, they were stunned. Napoleon did not argue over New Orleans. He offered something else. Everything. All of Louisiana. Rivers, plains, mountains, forests, half a continent. The Americans could barely believe it. They hadn't come prepared to buy an empire. But Napoleon was done hesitation. Napoleon's logic was cold and brilliant. America was weak, but Britain was dangerous. A strong America could block British expansion. A strong America could become Britain's rival. A strong America could change the balance of power. Napoleon reportedly said, "I have just given England a maritime rival that will humble her pride." This was not generosity. It was strategy. Louisiana would not be British. It would not be French. It would be American, and history would never be the same. The impossible deal becomes reality. The price that shocked the world. The constitutional crisis in America. The moment ink changed history forever. The American envoys stared at the documents in silence. They had come to Paris with strict instructions. No land beyond New Orleans. No promises, no risks. And yet here it was. A proposal so large, it barely fit on the page. Louisiana, all of it. This was not a negotiation. It was an avalanche. James Monroe and Robert Livingston knew one thing. If they said no, this chance would never come again. 3,000 miles away, Thomas Jefferson faced a nightmare. The Constitution did not allow the president to buy foreign land. Jefferson was a man of law, a man of principle, and yet history was knocking at the door. He wrote letters, drafted amendments, questioned everything he believed. And while he hesitated, Napoleon waited. The clock was ticking. $15 million. That was the price. Even then, it felt unreal. America would pay France $11.25 million directly, $3.75 million to cover French debts. In return, 28,000 square miles, complete control of the Mississippi, a future no one could yet imagine. 3 cents per acre. History had never seen a bargain like it. Napoleon knew the risks. France might regret this forever, but war with Britain was unavoidable. Gold mattered more than land he could not defend. Soldiers mattered more than forests. Napoleon chose certainty over pride. "I must make America strong," he reportedly said, "so that England may not rule the world." This was not surrender. It was chess. On April 30th, 1803, the treaty was signed. No ceremony, no celebration, just man, ink, and fate. With a single signature, France abandoned its American future. The United States doubled in size. Britain lost its greatest opportunity. No cannons fired, no blood spilled. Yet the world shifted forever. Most Americans didn't celebrate. They were confused, fearful, unsure. What would they do with so much land? Could the Republic survive it? No one knew. But history already did. The path to a superpower had quietly begun. We witnessed the consequences no one predicted. The rise of American expansion, the fall of Napoleon, and the empire that was sold, but never truly forgotten. The ink dried. The maps were redrawn, and almost no one understood what had just happened. America had doubled in size overnight. Rivers that once fed empires now belonged to a republic. Forests, plains, and mountains waited silently. The land was not empty. Native nations lived there, thrived there, would soon be displaced. The sale did not create peace. It created momentum. The idea came later. That expansion was destiny, that the land was meant to be taken. Settlers moved west. Railroads followed. Cities rose from dust. The Louisiana Purchase made it possible. Without it, no westward explosion, no continental United States, no American century. History had chosen its side. Britain watched from the north. Canada remained British, but expansion south and west was impossible. The United States stood in the way. Napoleon's strategy worked. Britain would never rule North America. An empire was blocked by a decision made in Paris. With gold from Louisiana, Napoleon armed his armies. For a time, he conquered almost everything. Austerlitz, Jena, Wagram. France ruled Europe, but empires built on war consumed themselves. The same urgency that sold Louisiana drove Napoleon into disaster. Russia broke him. Winter destroyed his army. Enemies united. Napoleon fell, exiled, defeated. Alone, the man who reshaped the world died far from power. And yet, his greatest legacy was not in Europe. It was across the ocean. Napoleon lost his crown. France lost an empire. But the decision endured. The Louisiana Purchase created a global superpower, a new world order, a century defined by American influence, all from a choice made under pressure, not generosity, desperation. Napoleon once held half a continent. He did not lose it in battle. He did not surrender it in defeat. He let it go to survive another war. History remembers conquerors, but sometimes the most powerful moments are the ones where a ruler walks away, and in walking away, changes the world forever.